Many new investors don't understand that saving money and investing money are two completely different things. Today on the Wealth Nation podcast, we are talking about the differences between investing and saving.
Welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast, a podcast for every mother, daughter, grandmother, sister, and wife, and the men who are smart enough to tune in. The Wealth Nation podcast brings you all you need to know about investments, business, property investments, personal finance, and all-around financial wellness. Here is your host, Yolanda Rose.
Hi, this is Yolanda, and welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast, where I aim to improve your money management and help you to build generational wealth by giving you all the tips and strategies that you need. So if it's the first time you're tuning in, welcome to the show. And if you are a long-time listener, please send me a message on Facebook or on Instagram. It's Financially Fabulous Females, and let me know what you think about the show. And I would really appreciate if you could leave a review on whichever platform that you are listening to the show on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Tuned In, or Spotify. Kindly leave me a review. I would greatly appreciate it. So if you missed out on the last episode of the Wealth Nation podcast, I spoke to you about inflation and what it means and how it impacts your personal finance. So if you want to know more about this topic, go and check out our last episode and learn about how inflation affects your money and what you can do to try and combat inflation. The Wealth Nation podcast is sponsored by Audible. Audible is the world's largest seller and producer of audiobooks and other spoken word entertainment, enriching the lives of millions of listeners every single day. With their customer-centric approach to technological innovation and superior programming, Audible has reinvented a media category and is driving force behind today's audio entertainment revolution. For your 30-day free trial and 2 free audiobooks, go to www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com/audible. Savings and investments have very different purposes and play very different roles in your personal financial strategy and your personal balance sheet. You need to make sure that you are clear on this fundamental concept before you even begin your journey and finding financial independence. So let's talk about the differences between saving and investing in order to define both these concepts. Saving money is the process of putting cold hard cash aside and putting it in a very safe and liquid. By liquid, I mean easily accessible. You can access it almost immediately. So this can be a bank account or something like that, even a money market account, but not through an investment house, but through your bank. Because once it's in your bank, you just pull out your card and you can access those funds immediately. If you're in an investment house, then you got to do a whole bunch of paperwork to access your money. So savings-wise, you want your savings to be extremely liquid. And the main thing about savings is that the cash reserves must be there when you reach for them. So you need 10 grand. Now you need to put your hands them in like 10 minutes. They're available for you to grab, to take hold of, deploy immediately with no delay, no matter what is happening around you. So under the mattress, it's easy to access. But essentially, your savings money is of easy reach. When it comes to investing money is the process of using your money or capital to buy an asset that you think will be a good probability of generating a return over time to make you wealthier, even if it means suffering a bit of volatility like the funds being up or down, economies being up or down. You're willing to weather that to oversee the long-term goal of generating wealth. True investments are backed by some sort of margin of safety. Often it's in the form of owning an asset or generating earnings in the form of dividends. But as you know, the best investments tend to be the so-called productive assets, such as shares, bonds, and property. Saving money should always come before investing money. Think of it as a foundation upon which you build your financial house. The reason is simple. Unless you inherit a large amount of wealth, it is your savings that is going to provide you with capital to feed your investments. So in times, if time gets tough, you're going to need extra cash. You are likely to be selling your investments at the worst possible time, because remember, with investments, we want to cash out our investments at a higher rate than which we invested in. But if we want to use our investments for our savings and we need easy access to the money, we're going to sell, possibly at a loss. This is not a recipe for getting rich. Now, there are two primary types of savings programs that you need to include in your life. Firstly, it's the emergency savings. Your savings should be sufficient to cover your personal expenses. That would be your rent or your bond, loan payments, insurance costs, utility bills, food and clothing expenses for at least 6 months. That way, if you lose your job, you will be able to have sufficient time to adjust your life without the extreme pressure that comes from living paycheck to paycheck. Now, 6 months salary, that's a lot of money to gather, but you got to start small. Make it a priority to start putting just 1 month away. Even if you're saving 500 Rand a month, it's better than nothing. Okay, so your immediate goal right now should be to set up 1 month's expenses. Then put it away. Put it away in a 32-day account so you can't access it. And then start your second month and slowly start building your reserve to cover you for 6 months of emergency funds. Second, any specific purpose in your life that you will require a large amount of cash in 5 years or less should be savings driven, not investment driven. So the stock market in the short run can be extremely volatile, sometimes maybe losing 50% of its value in a single year. So other than your emergency savings, have another pot of savings that you will save for. For example, are you saving for a birthday? You're saving for a holiday? Or even a general savings where you're putting away money every month, and then once it hits a significant amount, maybe 10, 20,000 Rand, you take that and you put it into an investment. Luckily in South Africa, there's such a low entry point for investments. As little as 500 Rand, you can start investing, but never invest if you do not have savings in place. So only after your emergency savings are in place and you have your medical aid, you should begin investing. And the best place to start investing is 1, a tax-free investment, and 2, is a retirement annuity, mainly because of the tax breaks that you get. And both these vehicles give you nice tax savings. So essentially, investments are you investing money for the process of growth. Saving money means you're putting money aside gradually for those financial emergencies. So you can start investing in gold, investing in shares, property, or even unit trusts. Savings, on the other hand, is you're putting money into your account. It's easily liquid. You have an emergency, it's there. You don't touch it. You reach your savings goals and stop there. Start a second goal. The main purpose of savings is meant to maintain short-term urgent requirements, whereas investments are made to provide return and to help in generating wealth and building capital. The risks for investments are high depending on what you're investing in. It can be very high, whereas savings, if you are in a low-interest account in a money market account, there's very low risk. But once you go into money market with an investment house without the guarantees in place, it's not as liquid. So the returns of investment can be very high, especially if you are seeing that long-term horizon. Whereas a savings, if you are in a savings account, you're getting lower returns. Investments are not as liquid as savings. It could take you up to 5 days to get out your investment cash. And depending on what investment vehicle you have, that investment can be locked for a specific period of time. And then if you really have emergency and you want to take out that cash, the penalties become involved. And savings is highly liquid. Whether you have it under a mattress or in a bank, savings are highly liquid. So essentially, there's a very thin line between investments and savings. Firstly, we have surplus money for a monthly basis. So the thing is that everybody should be saving. Not everybody is in a position to invest. When we start to accumulate a surplus every month or every year, you tend to feel secure and that you have a buffer in place that you can easily put towards your emergency savings. So the more money you put away, the more secure you feel. Your situation starts to improve. Don't fall into the trap of wanting the fancy stuff, the fancy watch, fancy car, a bigger house. Make that sacrifice to start saving, to start investing. Although it may seem that you don't really have any money to save or to invest, but there are some small tweaks that you can make to try and squeeze out every single rand out of your budget every month. So here are some best practices that you can start almost immediately. Firstly, you got to start budgeting. It is so important that you start budgeting. If you've never done it before, go and listen to my budgeting episode. And in there, I give you a template. I'll tell you how to draw up a budget or which type of budget that works for you. So start budgeting, and then you can see where your money is being spent. How much is being spent where? How many percent on housing, on food, on transportation? When you start understanding where your money goes, you can start controlling your finances. But before you even dream about saving money, if you can't do budgeting, forget about it. There's no way you can save if you don't know where your money is going. How can anybody decide where to make spending cuts if you don't know where the money is going? So creating a budget doesn't have to be a long, onerous process, but you do need to sit down, find out where your money is going. You want to make a list of your monthly expenses: housing, utilities, groceries, debt, entertainment. So once you have that clear picture of how your monthly spending is going and where it's going, you can identify the trends and the problem areas. Are you spending too much on takeaways, too much on transport? Are you smoking too much, drinking too much? After you've identified these problem areas, you're going to have a better idea of where you can cut back and how much you can cut back by. For example, if you go out to dinner multiple times a week or order expensive takeaways, perhaps you can cut back on those items and apply some budgeting tactics to cut out that budget completely, or even cut it in half if you can't cut it out completely, and put a portion of that money away into savings. Even if it's just 50 Rand, you can do it. 50 Rand is better than nothing. Over a period of over 12 months, 50 Rand is 600 bucks. So you need to write down your monthly income after taxes have been deducted. So now you can see and you have an idea of how to paint the picture of how your money you take in and how it goes out. But you don't have to track every single Rand spent. At least have an idea. The very least, just have an idea. Second thing you need to do is start paying yourself first. So after you have identified where your money is going, hopefully you have a few spare rands to put aside into a savings account or a retirement plan like a personal retirement annuity. However, there is another secret to saving money, and it's all about paying yourself first. So if you, like most people, you probably wait until your salary is deposited into your account. You pay the bills, you buy your groceries before you're deciding how much you can deposit into savings. By then, there's not much left over, and you might have to worry about how you're going to make it through the rest of the month. So you avoid putting money into savings. Now, this is a very big mistake. You need to think of your savings just like how you would think any other bill, and always pay yourself first. When your electric bill becomes due at the end of the month, you make sure it gets paid. I mean, Eskom is going to cut you off. They might cut you off even if you're paying with the crisis at Eskom, but you make sure it gets paid. So you need to start seeing savings as a bill. Don't see it any different from your Eskom bill or your telecom bill. If your goal is to save 100 Rand a month, then think of your savings goal as 100 Rand, as a bill that needs to be paid. If you think about saving in terms of a bill that needs to be paid, you're more likely to deposit that money and to build up your emergency fund. So just think about your monthly savings as a bill. Just thinking about monthly savings as a bill isn't enough. You have to make it actionable and pay yourself first. Just thinking that your monthly savings is a bill isn't enough. You have to make it actionable. You got to go into your account and pay yourself first. Transfer that 100 Rand into another account. Third, you need to start spending less than you earn. And I know it's hard. Everything is going up in South Africa. But you know what? South Africans drink. South Africans smoke. South Africans party. There is money that you can put away. You don't have to be keeping up with the Joneses all the time. I mean, this is finance 101. It's the holy grail of personal finance. You can't spend what you don't have. And if you can't put this into practice, you'll never save money. You will never be financially free. And you will always be working to pay off a lifestyle that you can't afford. You have to spend less money than you earn. And there's no two ways about it. The country is in financial crisis now for the very same thing that politicians could never do in the first place. Our debt is out of control because we spend more than we earn. And we need to scale down on an individual level and stop doing that. If you earn 1,000 Rand, and you spend 1,100 Rand, there is a 100 Rand deficit. To cover the extra 100 Rand spent, you might have to borrow from a credit card. Unfortunately, borrowed money comes with the cost. You got to pay for it in the form of interest, which means that you're more than just 100 Rand poorer. Now you got to finance the interest on that 100 Rand. Maybe you're paying 150 Rand back. If you continue this process on a regular basis with even larger Rand amounts, you can get into tens and thousands of Rands in debt. It's the exact same thing that's happening in the South African economy. Learn to spend less than you earn. Even if it means making some major sacrifices in your life. Cut down your spending on red meat. Eliminate alcohol and cigarettes from your diet. Eat healthier, eat fresh goods. And a lot of the time, the packaged goods cost a lot of money. Packaged cereals, processed meats, all of that is very expensive. The less processed, the cheaper it is. So as your debt increases, you may find yourself making a minimum payments to cover that debt, to finance the debt, which means that your payment does not even cover the interest portion. It only covers the interest portion, and it doesn't cover the capital debt itself. So as a result, it'll take years to pay off debt, and when including the total cost of interest, you likely have to be paying more than the original amount that you borrowed. So if you can master this one thing, spending less than you earn, and getting to this point starts with getting a budget in place. So once you understand, if you can put those three things into practice, you will have money to save. The secrets outlined above, it's just common sense principles. Most of us don't even know that we need to budget our money. Put aside for the future. Save for your retirement, for your kids' education. You cannot depend on the government. You're not entitled to anything here. You are responsible for your own future and your own destiny, and it starts with proper money management. Stay out of debt. Many of us still do it. We get into silly debt, consumer debt. If you're going to get into debt for anything, let it be a house, not anything that depreciates. Unfortunately, short of winning the lotto, there are no secrets to building wealth. If you master these three things, you can scale it. Start your business and put the same things in practice and pass this down to your kids. These are three sound money management principles. These are the foundations of personal finance. One thing is certain, if you can budget your money so that you spend less than you earn and put some money into savings or into a retirement annuity before you have time to spend it, you will be able to save money and build wealth. So if you want to get your hands on my top 10 investments in South Africa, send me an email. My email address is yolanda@financiallyfabulousfemales.com, or you can send me a message. I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I'm even on TikTok if you haven't checked it out. My TikTok handle is financially.fab. So go and check out some of the videos I put out, some really cool financial advice. So you can send me a message on any one of those platforms, and I will send you my top 4 investments in South Africa. A lot of it is time sensitive. Well, most of it is time sensitive. So you don't want to delay in getting this information. I have spent a lot of time researching. These are my top 4 picks and easy entry points. Great way to make some really easy money. I'll talk to you next week on the Wealth Nation podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to visit our website at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com and sign up for our free investment masterclass.